What's up, man?
What's up?
Thanks for coming by the podcast room.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I mean, I feel like this is the nicest setup
Thank you.
I've ever been into.
Thank you.
Yeah, my first in-person podcast I've been to.
You know, it used to just be like a table, and
Uh-huh.
then one day I came in, I was like, dude, we got to make this so much better. And then we kind of put this thing together. And then there's some things I don't like about it, but, it works. It does the job,
Yeah, well, I'm feeling this concrete texture.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Those wood panels. for
These
sure.
wood panels, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
If I could put that in the studio, I probably would have.
Uh-huh.
But there's not enough room in my space.
No,
for that finishing, so I ended up going with a different finish.
for sure you guys definitely use as much space there as possible. Like
Yeah,
there's,
we max
like
out.
you max out that. It's not that big of a place. You
No.
literally max that place out.
Yes.
Why don't you tell people who you are, man?
All right. Well, my name is Juan Navarro, and I am the owner of the Eastside Arthouse. I'm also the resident artist in residence of the. Okay, my hands just did a little
You're fine.
air thing.
Yeah.
So I'm the owner of the Eastside Arthouse, but I'm also the artist in residence of the Riverside Art Museum, and I'm also really just a day-to-day artist,
Mhm.
private contractor. So if you see me working on something else other than those two things,
Yeah.
most likely it's just me taking on some commissions or doing some work.
Do you feel like I've had multiple artists in here,
Yeah.
some people that work at your spot. I always wonder, is art something that people have or they don't have? And every artist has a different statement on that.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, man, it comes down to grit.
Oh, really?
It's really hard for me to say like, oh, you have it, you don't have it,
Mhm.
because that person that may not have it today, I think can have it
So you
tomorrow.
think it can be taught?
Yes.
This show is sponsored by Resilient Real Estate Group, powered by EXP. So, you're thinking about buying and selling soon? Yes, we know you probably know a realtor, your mom's best friend's cousin's neighbor who puts her face on the local shopping cart. But you know what? Our friends at Resilient Real Estate Group have helped hundreds of thousands of people sell houses over the years, and they definitely know what they're doing based on their 5-star review on Google and Zillow. So, it doesn't matter if you're looking to buy $1 million house or a fixer-upper, make sure the next time you're thinking about buying and selling real estate, you give our friends a call over at Resilient Real Estate Group. And now we're back to the show.
100%,
okay.
100%. So it's kind of like, I think it's a language,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you can learn a different language, you can, but not everyone can learn a second language,
Yeah.
right? And it's not because they can't, if they have some abilities that they lack and they're like, I can't learn another language, or there just wasn't enough effort or time dedicated to learn that new language. So
Yeah.
art is a visual language that we use without having to speak, and hopefully still entice thoughts and philosophies, and so that's what I feel about art. And if you don't have it, you can have it,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to work extremely hard to have it.
To learn it.
Yeah.
When did you know that? When did you feel like you had it?
Probably for a long time I didn't feel like I had it at all.
Really?
Yeah. So actually, if I was to be super honest, like my older brother was the artist in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 3 years older than me, so I'm just like the middle brother, and then I have a little brother. My little brother is a year aside from me too. So growing up, he was a senior, and then I was coming in as a freshman, and then I was like, well, what do they do? What does it mean to be older? What does it
Mhm.
mean to be, and in high school, it feels like it's so far ahead, but you just realize just like a few short years and then you'd be there. So he was into art growing up. He was celebrated for it. I was more in academics, and I was more like, honor roll students or whatever these certificates that give you to like keep you going as a child, growing up. But I feel like I definitely I thought my brother was really cool for being an artist, one.
Mhm.
And then secondly, I didn't want to hang out with other freshmen, so I'm like, I want to hang out with my brother and his crew. And during that time, there was a lot of like graffiti.
Mhm.
50 Cent just released his album and a CD. So there's like, it's a little bit of an influence of like hip hop, street art. And usually the cool guys had a black book and doing sticker slaps or going on trains and doing like missions.
Yeah.
So but we were also brought up in a very conservative home, taken to church. So there was always an identity crisis growing up as well. Not only being like Latino and like speaking Spanish, but also on the other spectrum of like culture, like growing up in an Adventist community, which is a little bit more conservative, Sabbath keeping, like honor your father and mother, and then we're promising you a long life, like all these like principles that were just like put into me growing up. Then I'm like, but I want to do like graffiti and street art too. But then I'm like, so there's this like push and pull. To one story that really stood out during that era of my life was I was taking a AP English class, and I left my sketchbook, which was full of graffiti, and we would pass around these things called black books. So when you would pass it around, other writers from your community would write in it, and at the end you'd have like a yearbook of all the taggers or
That's
graffiti
cool.
artists of. So police knew this, so they trained the teachers about like looking for these books, and then yeah, so I left it in my class. I just forgot it, and then I came back to the teacher and I said, "Hey, I left my book here. It's my art book." And then she's like, "That's not your book." I'm like, "Yeah, it is," but I didn't look like it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't dress like it. I didn't speak like it. Like I just wasn't it. But I had the ability to because I wanted to participate in that culture, and she didn't believe me. So she's like, "Well, if you want it, you got to go to the principal's office." But there was a rumor going around that if you went to acquire your book, you would get charged for every name that's in that book.
Wow.
Because their understanding was, well, if it's your book, then you're also responsible for all these names. So that means all the names that were in public spaces, you'd be charged for it. So I'm like, never mind, not worth it. So just left it. But that was kind of where it was more just doing it to, be closer to my older brother. But at the same time, I enjoyed lettering, graffiti. And then that's what really brought me a lot of, I guess, social acceptance too. It wasn't the way I dressed, because during that time, our family kind of like, I grew up with a really weird stepdad that was so controlling that he didn't allow us to choose our haircuts, didn't allow us to like purchase or choose the clothes we wore up until like senior year of high school. Like they would dress us. So then I'm like, so then basically what they would do, just buzz cut us, so he wouldn't have to pay for another haircut later. Like so I'm like this bald kid with like bright clothes, and I'm like, what? Doesn't make sense. So I really had to work on my personality and how do I connect to my peers during that time. Yes, it was through sports, but then the other component was being an artist as well. So I really found like art as like a safe haven of identity for me that I had control of, when there was probably other aspects of my life that I didn't. So that was more of like the introduction of my creative experience. But I never called myself an artist, because I knew that there was always a higher level or a higher form of being an artist. That was like, the museums or these galleries. So I kind of didn't really define myself as an artist until, coming from poverty, I said, I probably would be considered an artist if I begin to make money from art. And maybe the first time I sell a piece, I'm allowed to call myself an artist. I cannot call myself an artist
Until someone buys your piece.
Yeah, because everything is just free and it's just for fun. It's for friends. And I designed backpacks for them. I broke my foot and while running, I graffitied my thing. So it was just for fun and for cool. It looked cool and things that I enjoyed. But also coming from an economical perspective, I said, well, I'm not really a pro artist, even though I'm celebrated within my small social circle. I was really aware it's just like high school, and it's just like these small groups that in the real world, I chose to really go to school for a safer route, which was going to be like a social worker.
Okay.
Just due to my experiences, I'm like, man, sometimes I always chase something you wish you had in your life when you needed it. And that'll be circled back towards the end of the podcast of why I even started the studio. It was kind of like, okay, if I had this person in my life growing up, would I have been saved from my circumstances? So then I'm like, well, I'll be social work, and then maybe I can do that for others. So I got a 2-year degree in human behavioral studies, and then that's when my art blew up. Like, because there was just one-on-one talk with basically a mentor of mine, and he's like, Juan, I think you're too positive to be part of the social work field. Do you know what you're asking for? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to like help people in their crisis. We're going to help them in the midst of like the most difficult times. Like, I want to be that helper. I want to be that hope for people that maybe don't have it or they're overlooked in our community. And then they're like, no, like every social worker I know is so sad that they need a social, like
Yeah.
they see therapy, and those therapists need therapists. So then it's just like, it's just a dark life. And he's like, and you're a very creative person. By then I was just already like volunteering, doing like, you know, just more art and more into digital art too. So I did, I directed live streamings for, again, it's all within the religious context. So I did a lot of production. I did a lot of concerts. I started getting paid to do more production work. But I obviously had an eye for composition and a love for cameras and tech. So I have a whole background in media that I was like, if I'm going to be an artist, I'm going to go into media, because all of my mentors that are including me in their practice are from the media angle. Until they discovered, well, I'm like, hey, but this is what I do on the side since I've been growing up. Like I do like the street art kind of stuff. So they're like, oh yeah, we could find ways to include that. So once in a while they'll do like a play or something. They needed some backdrops done. So I just kind of did some things just casually, but never took it seriously, because again, the thought of starving artists is still there.
Yeah.
The idea of where you come from, you cannot make it as an artist. Like you must have so much backing to even like have a breakthrough. So there was just so many like assumptions that I was already being obedient to, that didn't really let me define myself until I finally broke through. So I want to leave some space for you to talk to.
Don't be. This podcast is for you, man.
Because I know sometimes I can like go on and, and journey through my life, but I just want to make sure that if there's any questions.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is what a podcast is for. Trust me. If I have one guest or another guest, but I want a guest that talks a lot or a guest that doesn't talk, I'll take the one that talks a lot. It makes my life a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is crazy for you that it is true that when it comes to artists, everyone's always told, like, you're going to be a starving artist. Like, artists don't make it. The number's so small. Like, so then it is hard. Like, do you just take that safe route of college, a degree, and then things like that, when it's hard because it's like you've been gifted a skill and an eye that a lot of people don't have in this big scheme of things, and then you're just like wasting it, you know?
Yeah, and I do see sometimes when I see like some super cool art on the Home Depot aprons.
Yeah.
Or on their posters, or like the Starbucks like chalk drawings. I'm like, there's someone in there skilled worker right now, and I don't know their life. Yeah. But I assume like those people are they excel in their craft, and I I don't even have to go to a museum to be inspired. Sometimes like these people inspire me. So I'm like, man, yes, there's a lot of people out there, and I think that are super talented, that have the ability to excel in their craft. It's just that one, they probably haven't had their first opportunity yet, or two, their life experience hasn't introduced them to the right tools or guidance or mentorship for them to fulfill their full self. Or three, they're good at something else too, and others want to keep them there.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, I think the other thing too, like I've had a lot of people in here, a lot of people have asked me like, oh, I want to do this. Like people go like, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, okay, great. Same thing. I'm like, I don't call myself a podcaster. I don't make money off of this. Like until like someone hits me up, going, hey, I want to be a sponsor in your podcast, or I start getting like YouTube ad revenue. But until then, I'm just a guy with a camera and a mic. Okay. You know what I mean? Because same thing. Because like same assumptions. Like when people like we were at a dinner last night and people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I run a real estate office. And then they're like, my girlfriend's like, oh, why don't you tell them about everything else? And I'm like, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, well, we do this podcast and we do the media team and we do this and we do that. They're like, why don't you say that you do that? And I'm like, because I don't make any money off of that. So it's like, is that a job or a hobby? Which one is it? Exactly. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like, I'm a podcaster. You know what I mean? But it's funny because I've had people sit where you're sitting and we get done and I'm like, dude, you're like really good at this. You're good at asking questions. You have a good flow, whatever. I'm like, you should totally like do one. And I've even offered like, hey, you could do it here, like whatever. But it takes probably that artist that's not an artist, like working their 9 to 5 and then coming home and then doing art for 3-4 hours every single day and then posting that on social media and then hoping one of your piece blows up. And then that whole process of handling it, the extra, if you're not in the position yet to be an artist, you know?
Yes. 100%. I feel the same way. I'm like, these things are sometimes being an artist can be just an addition to your life.
Yeah.
Like, and I see sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
I see a lot of people have a lot of different experiences in relationships with art.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, there are people that find, like comfort. And I think my first few years as a child I would say, into college, art was a place for me to have control over decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And
like you got to decide what it looked like.
Yeah. And sometimes I enjoyed like not caring, because I also didn't have a lot of art education during that time too.
So you could just do whatever.
So I would freestyle.
Yeah.
And if luck gave me a beautiful piece, then I was grateful. I was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I made this and I enjoy it. I didn't understand why. I couldn't look at it and say, oh, I could critique this artwork. This is why I enjoy it. This is why my others enjoy it. I'm just like, you just amaze yourself because you're creating, you're in control, but at the same time, you enjoy being out of control too in the art. And then you didn't know anything about, colors, science. You didn't know about all these like, composition, all these like words that artists use today, or basically artists that are at a higher level, that are more educated, that that have the opportunity to go through school, can finally point out why their design works and not. And you can show them 1,000 pieces of art and they can tell you like, this is why this is working, or this is how it could be better. So obviously today, as being a professional artist today, I have those tools now given to me, and even in the areas that I do lack, I have people around me too that
the right people
that are just like smarter than me, or as smart as me too, like giving me feedback as well. So having a space that I can bring people together from different levels, either highly educated with master's degrees, bachelor's degrees in arts, and then even someone that's just, where I was, 4 to 5 years ago. Like, hey, we're just starting out. This is, does this look good? And then we just say, well, maybe we can focus on the value. Well, what is value? Well, it's just how bright and how dark the image is. Okay, then what does that look like? All right, then we would have to show, like, look out. Your eyes are cameras.
Yeah.
Look out to that space. What's the darkest spot? What's the brightest? So like someone taking the time to guide you to those things. And I think a lot of my education came from good people.
Right people around you.
Yeah. So if you ask me, did I go to college for art? I would say no. Mm-hmm. But I still think, I think it comes, everything that's like worth having is always going to be very difficult to have.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Like, I'm sure your business, wherever you are today, no one can see the pain you went through.
For sure.
To have what you have today.
I think that.
I can waste no time, because I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. I can waste no time, because I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. I can waste no time, because I gotta keep it tight. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me.
I think that's the hard part. I think that's the hard part with society now, is it gives a lot of expectation of what it truly takes to get somewhere, because now everyone just sees the finish line. And so then it sets up people to have this unbelief, this expectation that things are so much easier than they actually are. And it's sad because you see people go down a road or a path that they shouldn't go down, or they're unprepared to go down. And then what really ends up happening is when they don't reach their goal and they can't, say they're going to be an artist and they just aren't that good, or they don't want to put the work in and they think it's way too much work, or handling the pressure of putting a good piece out that they weren't expecting that kind of pressure. Then they go work another job and they're embarrassed to post they're not an artist anymore. Like, that is what people get. The world that we live in now is not, I'm going this way. And maybe this is something, especially for an artist. Like, for me, it's like, I wish I could share struggles because I would want people to know that running a business and selling a lot of houses and having a podcast and trying to throw events is very stressful. Like I went to your event. You're planning this whole event and you're just praying for people to show up. Like what if they don't show up? What if people don't come? What if they don't like the art? What if all this stuff? And I wish we could explain that to the world. Like, hey, I'm throwing this event. I'm really nervous that people aren't going to show up. I am nervous that people are not going to like my art. I'm nervous about this, but then all they see is like you at the event and people there and you're smiling and you're like, really you're just like thank God that's over. Yeah, like it worked, you know? Yeah. I think that's something I wish we could do a better job in society is like showing people it's hard. Yeah. And reminding them if they're struggling, it's hard. And it's okay that it's hard because everything is hard. Like it isn't easy. Yes. You know what I mean? Like for you, like when you're painting, obviously you do big pieces for contract and things like that. What is the mindset that you have when just it's a Saturday, I just want to go sit in my studio and just throw nonsense against a canvas or whatever, and I just want to just go have fun versus someone's hiring me for a job and I got to put a painting on the side of a wall on a building. Yeah. Do you have a different mindset in those?
Yes. So one is the reflection is what do I think is cool? Mm-hmm. And then the second one is what does the client think is
cool? Yeah.
So I think I like both. Like, so it wasn't always this way though. So when I first started doing, when did I decide to make that shift to like, hey, I want to be a full-time artist was, I used to do Periscope streaming.
Periscope.
Yeah, so
that was a Periscope, man. Not a lot of people remember Periscope. Yes, Periscope was the man.
Gold badge, I think I grew from 0 to 12,000 within the time of its life. And to me, being a nobody, imagine working out of a garage, just not being a person that even my community even knew. Yeah. Like I was just a secret artist that no one knew, and I was still going to college for film. But on Periscope, like, because it was like a chance that everyone in the world wants to just travel the world and see like who's streaming where, and it was from your phone, so it's so portable versus back then like live streaming it's just like a computer setup, but now you can take it on a mobile device, so there'll just be random things, but communities built, and there was like lead people that were just considered themselves like maybe Periscope is like the next YouTube. Yeah. Just to fast forward, just for anyone, Twitter purchases Periscope, dissolves Periscope, so now the live stream engine of Twitter is basically it was just purchased and acquired. So none of that is like
doesn't translate over.
It's not there anymore. Well, like anything that happened during that era is just like
gone.
Yeah, gone. So the cool thing is I had stopped streaming like probably a year prior to the dissolve. I just didn't find any more value in it. But that was the first time like I was streaming. I was doing, and I was really talking about. There was a lot of happiness, and I like to share this story because it reminds me too why I'm doing this, why I want to be an artist. So. The word Love Monsters is on my account, and I know it doesn't really make sense to my paintings today, but I was just doing illustrative, like graffiti-inspired characters prior to any of my fine art, and I was just like sharing positive messages on streaming and like, hey, but this is where I'm at. I'm like a young guy, like it was probably around ages 19, 20, 21. That was the era of my streaming. Mm-hmm. And then I was working out. I was enjoying life to the fullest, but still at my parents' house, knowing that these are my last years of having parental support. Mm-hmm. Like life is about to hit a transition. Yeah. Where I will have to be on my own. So my mindset was, well, what do people that have wealth spend their time doing? It's like, well, they go outdoors and they work out. They climb a mountain. They, they go hang out they value relationships, friendships. They hang out with, like, what are things, if money wasn't an issue, would I spend my life doing? And so I kind of made that a focus for myself So I'm like, well, I want to, I'll just share that journey. So that was like one of the themes. The other theme was helping people through struggles, because I was still in the mindset of like, I want to be a service to others, but the problem with that structure was when you announce in public, hey, I'm here to help people with mental illness or with this or with that, and then you are positive, but then you also inevitably you are going to hear very dark stories.
Yeah.
And then you're going to attract just very sad people.
Yeah.
And it is just going to be, then I realized, like, I mean, I could handle this. I had always had optimistic. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm here for you. And, just keep it up. So when you're younger, because you don't have a job, you were in college, like, you'll be surprised how much a 18-year-old to, say, a 23-year-old, how many relationships they can actually handle. And they're all social.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with business. Nothing to do with, like, it's just purely social, listening, hearing, and these genuine conversations. So I became overwhelmed. There was just too many relationships to maintain. And then, I started getting my first drawing commissions, then my first murals through that app. And then I got to travel to San Francisco. I even then used some of my first monies to also, like, travel into Mexico. Then it just started dating people too, and just enjoying life without having the responsibilities of maintenance.
Yeah.
I didn't have a car yet, but I was still flying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't have a car yet, but I had enough to Uber to different places. So it was just all these things where there was a period of my life where I did kind of get the wanderlust out of me. And this whole idea of, like, this is how it feels to be a cool artist. But then at the same time, when I would travel, one of the questions that stuck out to me was, where are you from? And then, I went to like graffiti festivals, and even took my brother, and I took one of my friends from film school, and then we stayed out in a hotel together, and we were just like, my brother's like, whoa, you're blowing up. And I'm like, I'm doing this, like, live streaming influencer stuff.
Yeah.
And then it was good. It was all fun. Chaotic if I was to show, like, someone that has a very more conservative lifestyle, but it was a fun journey. But then the question always said, like, where are you from? I'm like, Riverside. They're like, what is that? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So then I felt like that happened over and over and over again. It's no longer the case. Riverside's blowing up for sure. But during that era, that's what it felt like. So then I said, you know what sucks? It's like, I'm like, I want to be more official. I want to do things more right. I want to make this a business. It's not just for fun anymore. And I obviously need to start off with a car.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a car yet.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about a car is that I can work with people's schedules.
Yeah.
Instead of working with RTA schedules.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, imagine, like, all your business meetings are dependent on bus
What time
routes.
you can get a bus?
Yeah.
Or can you get a ride from someone?
Yeah. Or, I mean, I rode a bike a lot too, but it's like, damn, that's why the bike is so valuable. When you don't have a car, like, the bike is gold.
Yeah.
So I knew I had steps to do to get to a new level, because obviously I was able to learn a lot of negotiation speaking, public speaking. Imagine practicing streaming every single day.
Oh, for sure.
That it just made you so comfortable to have conversations with, like, business owners. I even had like a conversation with, like, ex PayPal investors when I was in San Francisco too, saying, hey, you should work for me. You should stay here. I'm starting this idea. So there were so many ideas and there were so many opportunities. I wasn't ready to leave Riverside because I just felt like I would be absorbed by other cities very easily. But then I also was very weary in knowing, like, not everything everyone says goes through.
Exactly.
So I'm not gonna fall for it, So So then basically I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take on. So I did take on a 6-month job at LA to learn about fine art printing, because again, I'm like, how do artists make money? And for any artist that's watching, sometimes we don't get to sell our originals every day. Sometimes we only sell one original or two a year, unless you have maybe a reseller or someone that's really connected to the industry that could blow you up. Am I there? No.
Yeah.
Does my gallery work at a high end like gallery? No. But there's still ways to make micro dose money that can build your career over time. And one way to protect your original paintings is by doing a high quality process of photographing it and creating museum quality archivable prints. And these prints now could be worth a tenth or 5% of your entire painting. And then just do the multiplications. If I sell these many prints, then I will hit the full value of my painting. The cool thing about that is that you didn't sell your painting. So when the museum now asks you, where's your art to show us? You still own them all.
Yeah.
And the second part, when life asks you, where's your money to pay your bills?
You have it.
You have it.
Yeah.
So that painting is worth as much, I would say, as prints that you can move.
Mm-hmm.
And some paintings beat out.
Well, and they're easier to move them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
'Cause
easier to
small.
sell a print for $50 than it is to sell a whole painting for $5,000.
Yeah.
For you, did you struggle with the transition of having to do art not just for you but for the customer? Was that a hard transition? Because I assume that is tough for certain artists to make.
Yeah. So obviously, like the whole, I guess I went off on a tangent on the business model, but the whole Love Monster shift from like me drawing my characters and being invited to these festivals, and I was just, and they're like in my style. I knew also I had a very realistic view of myself that I'm barely like year 2 in, year 3 in. Like I'm still a nobody.
Yeah.
And I understand that some people go to school for 10 years to become a master in something. So I said, I'm going to give my first decade, be flexible. That's for me. My first decade is to be flexible. I might have an idealized dream that I'll be famous for my specific cartoon character. And then when you compare it to a Mickey Mouse and you realize there's $1 billion of marketing investment, and that's why that mouse is so recognized, doesn't matter what culture you're from. But do you have $1 billion to put behind your character? The answer is no. So there's this fake dream of like, hey, if I do, like, maybe I'll make an animation series. You're competing against a studio that has multi-million-dollar studio versus one frame-by-frame artist drawer. By the time you finish your first film, they finish like 50 of them.
Yeah.
And like, what is your character gonna stand up? You know, so like you start thinking like we're in a capitalistic society, and people that are good team players end up winning. That's another key word that why the studio is so good. So it's you versus the world, or you join a team and you build something and you have a little bit more weight compared to like the commercial style art. And a lot of people are like, everyone has their own beliefs of like being an indie and like being a purist and being traditional, like, and not budging and not being flexible. And some people find success in that. But my story is completely different, where I'm like, you know what? I understand that my fear is coming from my lack of ability.
Mm-hmm.
So from this next few years, I am going to become the best artist I could possibly be, technically. That there will not be a boundary to what I can create. And if a client gives me a hard task that I've never done before, what if I told you this? Okay, I would, and then this is like I'm gonna be super honest, and I hope that my future clients, please don't be offended at me. But this is just the mindset for an artist to be empowered. And it's all about perspective. This is one perspective, but there's 3 perspectives for the same action. So like, this is just one of my perspectives that helped me through a hard time. If I told you, I'll give you $1,000 if you learn how to draw this bird, would you do it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's no brainer.
Yeah.
Now, if I told you, hey, I need a drawing of a bird, and then you say, well, I want to charge you for that, and then you charge them, but you never drawn a bird before, like maybe you don't have the research yet.
Yeah.
But you're going to do all the research to complete the assignment. So that art piece, the reason why it's worth $1,000, like, it's like there's enough capital there to even get the research out of the way, get the composition, because when we're making art, we're literally the engineers of our pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, all our pieces that we're making are original. And why are they originals? Because they have intellectual property that we've never done before sometimes, and we're having breakthroughs in our creativity. So like, who's going to pay for that research? Who's going to pay for all that legwork to, research as far as you want, the anatomy of the bird, where the wings split, what makes a dove look like a dove and a blue jay look like a blue jay? Well, someone's paying an artist to figure that out.
Yeah.
So that's when art becomes even worth, if you see it in that perspective, I would say then everyone's going to want to be an artist if they saw it in that perspective. Like, I paid you $2,000. Would you figure out how to draw a corgi?
Yeah.
You'd
Well, I
be
think
like,
that's
okay.
I think
You know what
that's
I mean?
the thing is that it's like, and then if you're paying money for an artist that does a style that you already like, you're actually paying for all the trial and tribulations and learning how to become that style.
Mhm.
That's why you're paying. That's how you pay that.
Yeah.
Is that some artists have already learned it,
Mhm.
and now you're paying for that.
Mhm.
And then now, or you're paying a newer one to go learn to go give it to me, which
Yes.
normally that's a discount.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's funny, like, and that's with everything. It's interesting when you come with certain tasks, right? Like
Mhm.
artists, or I know my world, real estate.
Mhm.
It's like something you said that's very interesting. Like the next 10 years, I'm gonna just use it as basically like an internship. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna make
exactly.
money. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna take jobs that. Maybe I don't want to draw that or paint that, but you know what? It pays the bills. I'm learning a task, and that's one more thing. Too many people are like, nope. You're like, dude, if you went to college, you'd spend 4 years. Then if you went to if you wanted to make 6 figures and become a lawyer, whatever, you'd be doing that for 12 years, but you don't want to give up any time now. And then you wonder why you then go work at Home Depot.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
100% true. So that's just crazy. Like, yeah, so that's like my mindset. Like 10 years, I don't care if my portfolio is blotched. Like I'm gonna do everything and anything given to me, and do my best at it. Like in the mindset of like if you work with me, you're still receiving my best version of myself today.
Yeah.
Right. So my early buyers had my least technical work. My current buyers have the best version of me today. And I wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for the first investors in my practice.
Mm-hmm.
I also wouldn't be here today. Here's another component too. I need to give a big shout out. And this is, again, I want to give value through business.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to share that a little bit.
Of course.
Because, I mean, I could share my sad story, but I think it'll be more valuable to know a little bit more about like what is my strategy to becoming a successful artist. And I'm still on my way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's this. If you see me as anything close to successful, I think this is just my first 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think after the first 10 years, then it will be a new texture, whatever that is.
Well, the thing is the way you're going about it, you're gonna be here in 10 years. That's the thing that people don't, if you don't play the game, you're not even around in 10 years to play the game the way you want to play.
Yeah.
You have to play it the other way first.
Yes.
Build up your credibility, build up your name, build up all this stuff, and then you get to play it the way you want to play it. It doesn't work. You don't get to play the game the way you want to play when you're a nobody.
Yes.
And if you do that, you're not even around long enough to be able to play the game the way you've earned. And then if you count art as a game, why do you think that you should play the game the way you want to play when you just started the game? It takes, and then you have someone who's put 10, 15 years in, now playing the game the way they want to because they played it the other way for 15 years. That's the only reason they're here. Is because they played it the other way.
Yeah. If it ever seems so easy for someone, it's because they put in the work.
They put in the work.
And for those that are thinking like, well, they must not take their job seriously because they're comparing it to a game. Well,
it's all a game.
But, you know, my wife's a child therapist.
Yeah.
She says literally all therapy is play when you're a kid.
Yes.
So literally that's how we learn how to socialize. That's the purest form of human is, you know, when we're children.
Yeah.
And we all play. So now as adults, we have different games that we've built with certain rules, social constructs. And these are all also the game we've all decided to agree upon as a society. You know, so
you just gotta play by the problem is that
rules.
you want to play by the rules.
You want to. That's how you start off.
That's how you want to play. You want to play by the rules, and the stronger you get in the game, the more rules don't apply to you.
Exactly.
So it's learning the rules to win is the way because those rules are all the same for everyone. That's what the thing. The rules of being a great artist is the rules for everyone. The difference is some people don't want to play by the rules.
Yes.
Meaning you don't take that project because it's maybe not the style of art you do. You could do it, but I don't feel like doing that. Where someone like you're like, I don't care if I feel like doing it or not. That's another piece that I can put on the wall. And then that person might know another person. And then maybe 3 people down the road, I get to do an art piece I really want to do.
Exactly.
That's the game.
Exactly.
I think we just make it too complicated.
We don't get dessert every single time.
Exactly.
We'll get dessert maybe every 3 days.
You gotta eat vegetables.
Yeah.
You gotta eat vegetables.
You gotta do the uncomfortable.
You gotta eat the uncomfortable vegetables. You gotta,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I've had so many people sit across from me,
Uh-huh.
and all the people who are successful all understand the game in the same way, meaning like you're gonna have to work, that's for sure. You're gonna have to change your beliefs, and you gotta go a certain way, and it's a sacrifice for right now, but in the long run, it's more of a play. It's like a move in a chess game, not the end of the game. You know, like I'm gonna go this way because I want to get here, but I know I have to go here first to go this way.
Yes.
And that's the thing about chess. You can go backwards. That doesn't mean backwards is not the right move.
Yes.
Because sometimes it is.
Yes.
And I think too many people think it's checkers. Too many people think it's like you just keep going forward. You keep going.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's not how you.
Exactly.
It's just, and the game is over before you want to admit. And like you said, oh, there's some guys that want to stay indie. Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'll be here in 15 years doing what I want to do.
Yes.
And you'll not be.
Yeah, that's
for the most.
You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me.
Price of an artist, it's like, how long can you be an artist for? I feel, how long can you maintain? Because art requires so much time.
Mm-hmm.
I think art will take up, if you allow it, all of your time.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
And you can be isolated if you really want to be just like focused, and that's it. Like this, then you don't spend any time doing anything else but art. That's also not the answer.
Yeah.
Like you have to develop other forms of your life to have the right tools when you're faced with those challenges next time. Like you'll be able to do it better. So there's a balance of also just being working on ourselves, being a self-aware human being, because it's not all business and money too. It's about, can we be the best version, our wisest version of ourselves? And sometimes wisdom could be interpersonal, like meaning, what are my boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
What is my capacity really? And if my capacity is here, like how can I be honest to ask for help?
Yeah.
The other one could be like relational with other people. It's like, okay, well, how can I give them the best service? How can I have them feel heard? Because my current practice is a lot of listening.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what do you want? What do you need for your community? What kind of murals do you want to see uplifting in your neighborhood? Why? What is your story? Now I'm writing all this down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning people's stories. All right, now those 20 people we just talked to, 100 people we just talked to, 300 people we just talked to, do you want to join us in painting this painting you made with me? Yeah. So we have these volunteer days, and this is the work I do through my residency. We all paint this wall together.
Yeah.
So I am so grateful that not only do I get to be an artist, but I do to get to support the community and still live my life purpose of like, oh, I want to be a social, I want to help people out. Like, at least I get to do it in a fun and creative way.
Yeah.
The reason I stop on the word fun is because people that know that you're having fun feel like they don't have to pay you.
Yeah.
But I would compare it to working out. Like, some people can like work out where it's painful and they're sore, but they can laugh and say, I'm having fun though.
Yeah.
They enjoy pain, discomfort, the same way in the artist as well. It is uncomfortable to paint murals sometimes. It's long hours of standing. Sometimes there's weather, the sun's beating on you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's freezing, your hands are like shivering, and no one sees those details because they're not doing it professionally. The people that are doing it professionally, that are out there doing the work. I mean, some people even just say, I'm only doing indoor murals and that's it. Why? Because everything else is too hard. Oh, okay. And why? It's like, well, I want an easy life.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, that's fine. You're limiting. You know,
You're cutting down 50% of your business.
There you go. That's, it's just smaller and smaller. So, well, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be a muralist then. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to be a muralist then. But I have a specialty. This is what feeds me. This is what brings resources back to my family. But again, I wouldn't even understand all of this if I wasn't transparent with my peers.
Yeah.
Like, I think being authentic, being clear about where you're at, and also being self-aware of understanding where you're at. Like, I understood when I did my first artwork with the community that I didn't have the talent that my mind knows that exists at a higher caliber elsewhere. Secondly, I just ask friends for help sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, it's like we just need to reach out and say, hey, I know you're in the industry. I know you're ahead of me. Is there any tips you can give me? And sometimes there's no answers, and there's no support from maybe another artist. But there are other professionals say, like, I can learn a lot from you in business, because even though we are not in the same industry, like you said, those rules are still the same.
The game is the game.
Yeah.
It's funny. The more like I said, people want to society wants to make success sound difficult. Yeah. Because then that stops you from wanting to get in. But after you crack the code, and I'm not saying you have to be prepared. It's not going to be this. Like, this doesn't exist. I don't care who you are. This doesn't exist. Yeah. It is this. But when you know the game, when you go here, okay, I know it's going to go back. The problem is when you're not when you don't look at it in a certain way, when you go here, you get depressed and you quit. That's the difference. The people that are still here,
you wait there. Sometimes people just wait there, and they carry it longer than it needed to be.
100%. because you think that it's this. The problem is you don't know that it might be that. That's the thing. So you have to know, hey, we have a plan in place. This is our goal. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up every day and do this, this, and this. Even when the results aren't going the exact way, I believe in this. Like, a question I always get, how much money do you make on the podcast? I'm like, I don't know, 0 probably. And they're like, then why do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, because I think in 10 years, if I do 104 of these a year, in 10 years, I've done 1,000 podcasts. I'm guessing out of those 1,000 podcasts I've done, somehow it will impact my life in a positive way. Maybe not financial, maybe not whatever, but I am able to give a gift of, this is your first podcast you've ever done in person. Awesome. Yeah. Now that's a moment that you take somewhere else to go, man, I had this podcast. It made me just inspired me. Like probably like your painting. Someone walks across a painting. Yes. And they look at your painting and you don't know the person. You don't know how it's impacted them, but they look at that and they go, wow, like that inspired me for whatever inspiration it came. So the benefit is sometimes knowing that I don't know how it's going to benefit me or benefit others, but it will somehow. Yes. And that's why we do it.
Yeah. And I definitely see it as like, it's a service for others. And I think, I can't speak for other podcasts, but I'm grateful for the opportunity.
For sure.
Because I see it is a gift of esteem. And it is a gift of, hey, I'm going to validate you by giving you a platform. Yes. And a lot of people's like, what are you doing this for, validation? It's like, well, if it's invalid, then we shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. So if it doesn't receive validation, then we should stop. Yeah.
It's well, like it's funny when you're around certain people, and the way it's always interesting when you're around. I just got back from a cool conference with people that are, like do what I do or whatever. And it's like, I'm doing this. What are you doing? How can I help you? Like, okay, I'm so proud of you. You're crushing it. Like, dude, you're going to make how much money this year? Oh my God, that's awesome. I've been seeing the years of you working hard. But then it's like this morning, a text like, hey, I need help on this. Can you help me? Yes. He's like, I knew you could. That's why I asked you. And I was like, yeah, of course. And when you speak like that, and when you are free of that, the right group of people that you have around you can hear your wins and be happy for you, and hear your struggles and be there for you. 100%. And that's very hard to find.
100%.
Yes. So when people are like, what are you going on a podcast to talk about yourself and all the great things you've done? Yeah. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because I've worked hard for that. It didn't come easy.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. And also, whoever says that, if I didn't have people, I would not have a podcast. What is everyone who's, but you know what's crazy too? Let me ask you this question. It's interesting. Is that no one would tell Elon Musk, why'd you go on Joe Rogan to talk about yourself? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's why he went there. More so, I assume everyone knows who Elon Musk is. He's a bad example, but like anyone that goes on Rogan's, they're going there to talk about themselves. And Rogan has built a platform to put people on blast that he likes. You're not getting mad at famous people going on podcasts. They're going on that podcast for more people to know who they are and what they do.
Yeah.
So why is it different for me?
Well, that energy just comes from
because no one's asking you to be on the podcast.
Yeah, that's
what it is.
Or they've known you before you became who you've become. So they still view you as when they met you. Yeah. Not where you're going.
Have you lost a lot of artist friends since then to now?
100%,
yeah.
100%.
They're like, oh, he has a studio now.
Yeah. So,
big time. He's sold out.
So yeah, I mean, especially when I launched the studio, like I had a very close friend of mine, start focusing on other things that I liked. And again, I'm not an all perfect person, and I understand that. I understand that I don't always make the best decisions in terms of business or spiritual well-being or relationships or all these different criteria to making you, because as a human, you can excel in many different levels of life. And some people are just dominant and they'll excel in so many, and then we don't see where they don't. Maybe because they haven't revealed it.
They don't reveal it.
Time,
it's like a Gary Vee. I don't know you know what that is, but it's like one of those things like only focus on what you're great at. And I think the why that's so important is because if you focus on only thing what you're good at, like for me, I have a staff that does all this. I have no idea how any of this works. Like I kind of do, but I don't really know how to do. Right? But if I tried to figure this all out, they wouldn't have a job. Yeah. So then they're at home when it's like this is what they're good at. So then why not I just hire them and they have a job now, and then I'll go focus on what I'm good at, and then we all just, like for you, you're able to open your own studio. Yes. You're an artist that has the ability to do that. Not every artist does. Yes. You do.
High risk.
Yeah, higher. And you have given a platform now for artists that wouldn't be able to be in a studio without you. And you could say, I only want my own studio. I don't want anyone in here. I just want this for myself. XYZ, go get your own studio. But who does that benefit? Nobody other than you. Yeah. And the goal is help more people.
Yes.
Yes.
I think if we were to look at, like, we are mammals. So as a baby, we're dependent on our mothers to look after us, to someone to feed us milk, you know what I mean? Like, and we're relational beings. Like, our style is not to leave and just be isolated. Our style of,
we need a tribe
of who we are is a tribe, a community. We're stronger in groups. That's how we survived throughout time, and we build cultures, and we can add amenities to these things, but if our basic principle, it's like, without anyone telling, like, you can call yourself like, this is who I am, but no one else is agreeing with you, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
The second one is, if you're not serving anyone around you, then you're not part of the tribe. Like, the tribe, everyone needs to be of service to each other. And people get upset with me when they're like, what do you mean there's a studio fee? Whoa, that's a lot. $200 a month. And I said, yes. And if you become a member, then I'll look out for you. Literally, when there's an opportunity, I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
When there's a contact, I'll share it with you. When there's an event, I'll share it with you. Well, how do I get on that information list? Oh, be a member.
$200 a month.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, why do I have to? Why is it? I have to scratch your back to you to scratch my back. I'm like, is there any relationship you have where you don't give? Even a basic principle of marriage.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't put in the work, you're not gonna get it back. Like there's never a one-way street for anyone. The only person that give you a one-way street maybe is your mom. Like, that's it. But even your mom is fulfilled by looking after you, or a parent that, that says, you know what, like, my reward is because I brought you here.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for you. And even if you grow up like, they still,
I'm 36 years old. My mom
yeah.
still calls me worrying all the time. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, Mom,
Exactly.
I'm 36. I'm fine. Right.
Exactly.
But it's funny
I don't know.
that people say that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, we have people that work here, whatever. And obviously this place isn't cheap,
Mhm.
right? Whatever, all the staff, the
Mhm.
cameras, all the gear, whatever.
Yes.
And I tell you, I'm like, well, why are you coming to work? Why do you want to come work here? Oh, this, that, that. You want to come work here because you want to make more money, correct? Well, yeah. You think all these resources are going to make you more money? And they said, yeah. I said, great. So you're coming here to make more money? Yeah. Is it okay if I make money too? The answer is, yes. Okay, great. That's why we charge what we charge here. That's it. That's like the line, because the doors don't stay open unless I have people pay.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
I'm not a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
I'm not super famous. Like, but that's the line I use to everyone. You're only
See, that's
coming here.
powerful.
Yeah. You're only coming here because you think all these resources are going to benefit you, which benefiting you make more money. Correct. Great. So then the question is it okay if I make more money too?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a coach. Do you have mentors? You don't have coaches, do you?
No, I don't.
You have mentors? You have like people you look up to?
Yes, I mean, yeah, there are people that I
Like,
speak
like
to.
you have like text group, yeah.
But actually not a lot, actually.
No, really?
Yeah, I'm at a point where I just do peer reviews and like
Got
peer
it.
check-ins.
Got
I
it.
think my mentor group is now like the people that I work with in the studio.
Perfect.
As these are people that I reflect with. And then I have friends that are outside my industry.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have one friend to actually remember. He does a lot of the reading, so I know he's very intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
Studies CEO books, works for a large company. And he's very, very, very wise person.
Yeah.
And he's outside of my business.
Which I think everyone should do.
Yeah. So
The best resources is
positive
not
or
an
negative.
artist.
No.
It's someone else that sees it in a different way.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
not even part of the industry.
Nothing.
That will not make any money whether I move left or right.
And no
No,
emotional tie to
no,
anything.
no.
Just like literally like 1 + 2 = 3.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
and
those people
you're
as
like,
well.
you're doing 1 + 2 and you think it equals 7. It doesn't. It's 3.
Yes.
What are you talking about? It's 7. No, it's not 7. It's 3. Trust me. Like,
Yes,
there's
yes.
no emotion. The reason I say that is, like, I had a coach
Uh-huh.
who I went to a conference, and it was like 2-day conference. It was X amount of dollars.
Mhm.
And the first thing he said to us, hey, just a heads up, I'm going to sell you. My goal is to convince you, based on these next 2 days, for you to spend even more money in my coaching program. Just so you know.
Uh-huh.
You're here to make more money, and I'm here to make more money. So let's get that thing out of the room. And it was like, true, like, cool. So when he pitched, like, hey, I hope you got the information you needed. If you want more in-depth, 12 weeks, hand-holding, one-on-ones, whatever, it's this much money.
Mhm.
Like, I just think it's interesting how people want to make money, but they don't ever want to give anyone money.
Mhm.
But the only reason you're going to make the money is the person above you that's going to help
Yeah.
you make the money. It's crazy.
Yes.
It's
So-
good to know that happens in
and-
every industry.
And then also let me let you know. Like, I started from zero too. So if maybe you don't have money to give right now,
Yeah.
then you can give time, because
Yeah.
time is a big currency. And if I was to tell you, like, how did I survive my first years of even commissions working with nonprofits and with the city, and it's a very slow pace, because it's a lot of forms, it's a lot of resources moving left and right, but sometimes it takes a long time for it to come in. So maybe there'll be a gap where it's like months or 2 months
Yeah.
with no pay.
God, artist is just like real estate.
Sometimes you have to leverage your credit.
Yeah.
So there is times where the credit card's sole purpose for me was to pay my living expenses to survive long enough for that contract to go through.
Yeah.
And
am I talking to a real estate agent?
Well, those principles are the same.
Same principles,
mean,
dude.
that's
you
how
get
I
that
made it,
zero interest card for 12 months, right?
Yeah,
You're like, cool, I
yeah.
can rack up, pay
And
zero interest on this credit card.
And then I made enough work to go back to zero.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, cool. So, you know, if you don't have rich parents or you don't have anyone like, or even if you do, but you just want to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of the way you just leverage. But then that holds you accountable too. Like, hey, this is what it costs for me to live. Now it's a little bit more complex having a family.
Oh, 100%.
Like your risk as a single person.
That is the truth.
You can handle more pain and maybe
you go down a top of ramen really quick. Yeah.
And you'll be fine. Like peanut butter and jelly for 4 days straight. Like I've lived those experiences and that's totally chill with me. Like I'm willing to, but when you have someone else that you're taking care of, this is not.
It's hard to tell your kids now it's
hard
to tell your kids like PB&J's again, Dad, for dinner. Yeah, I love. Don't you love PB&J's?
Yeah. Now it's a different.
You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. I'm in my bag, got my eyes on the price. You know I can waste no time, cause I gotta keep it tight. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me. Give me the bass, give me the beat. I'm in my bag, this round is on me.
It's a different thing. So my risks aren't as radical today, but it doesn't have to be anymore for me, which I'm grateful for because of just my partners and who I do business with. Give me enough resources to take care of me and have a little extra to bring back home. So, but depending on where you are in life, some of these tips, you know, that's what you have to do. It's like not enjoy whatever you find, you know, like spending. Basically, don't spend, you know, like all of your money will go into paint. Like if you ask me how much paint did you buy just to learn how to paint?
Yeah.
If you're not 5K in, then you need some more mileage. You know what I mean? So, but you want to own an Apple Watch or you want to own something, I don't know, something else that may not be contributing towards your career. Like just, and then that mindset comes from, okay, and nothing against the stock market. I just don't have enough wealth to invest in stock market right now. But if I was to either bet on a company like Tesla, since we brought up Elon Musk, to grow within the next 6 months, or do I invest these $1,000 in myself and I know I can multiply that 1,000 in the next 6 months faster than Elon Musk himself.
And you have control of it.
And you have control. You can decide of what to do after those resources return. So all these things are like, as long as you could bet on yourself, I think that's good motivation to say, oh, too late. I've already betted on myself. I already bought these like $500 worth of spray cans. I guess we're all in. Like, and I love intensity. I love high pressure. And I feel like the studio itself as an investment, the startup, being an initial cost, that was my big, like, so maybe it was micro risk. Right. And maybe it was like, all right, this is all my money on this card. But then when you start going positive, now it's like, all right, how much of that positive am I putting back into my career? Maybe I should just do 50%. Maybe, you know, and then it goes in, it goes boom, boom, and then it comes back. And the people that keep flipping without taking and just reputting it, it's going to grow really big. So for me, actually, right now, I do have an event coming up in April 8th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's going to be a gallery exposition, or it's called a gallery invitational, where we invited all the artists in the Inland Empire, plus anyone that we know within Southern California, to come out, show some pieces, have a good time. Price is super affordable, $500 or below. Original paintings and illustrations. So that way they, you know, anyone that is interested in being an art collector or supporting an artist's journey, there's a chance there for an artist. So there's going to be 86 artists. We're also having a market night out in the back, and then we'll have a food truck too. So come hungry. But like for this event, I got a gardener. We're cleaning out the back. I'm installing gallery style walls right now. So maybe it was just like an extra $1,000 to make the space look a little nicer.
Yeah.
So like even though I had a startup investment, like I'm still
investing in everything
slowly. It's more progressively, but and where I think there's micro growth in the quality of my service.
Makes sense.
So yeah, come out and look at the white wall. I'm proud of that. But also come out and look at the art and enjoy the events. But these are just like things that like you never stop giving back into your career. I'm sure as a real estate agent, like you getting coaching lessons, like that's investing in your personal growth and education.
Never stops.
And you probably don't stop. You just probably put it back in like, hey, okay, I have this success. Well, part of it's still going back into it, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing is that it just takes so much in the beginning to build momentum. And I believe in momentum more than anything else, positive and negative, that it's like it takes years. And I think that's something I remind myself all the time. Like it's hard when you see peers and you're like, dude, why are they like whatever? And you're like, oh, well, they're also 10 years older than you. And they've been doing this twice as long. And they have experience and they have time and they have resources and they have XYZ. And so it's like you got to stop comparing yourself. I think the two things, stop comparing yourself, but also be truly super honest with yourself. Like, are you putting the work in? Are you investing in your company? Are you trying? Is this really what you want? And most people, I think, struggle with that. And I think most people, that the people they have around them struggle on holding people accountable, because you hold someone accountable and it makes them feel like you're attacking them or whatever. But it's like, no, like you told me you want to be an artist. Let's go, Art. You told me you want to be an artist. When's the last time you painted? Oh, it's been 3 months. Okay, well, then you don't want to be an artist. Stop telling everyone you want to be an artist. You don't want to be an artist. It doesn't mean that much to you. But if you keep letting them tell them themselves, like, oh, well, one day I'm going to be an artist. Okay, well, that means you need to be painting every day. Like, every day. Because someone is painting every day.
Yes.
Someone's painting. And the best always wins.
Yes. And I feel there's a balance. Like, I think from the outsider perspective, artists paint, right? They have one job.
Yeah.
The true job of an artist is 10 jobs.
Oh, for sure.
Like you're going out there, you're marketing yourself, you are making connections, you're going to events that, you can meet people, you're building relationships, but then you're painting too. But there's artists that are in a high level that have teams of artists creating their art because they're in such high demand that they have 20, 15 people producing their work. He comes in, does the finishes touches, signs it, ships it out. And it gets to that point where the most successful ones kind of are pushed to that level.
Yeah.
In order to be ultra successful. I don't know if Riverside has someone like that yet. And if they did, I'm just unaware right now from my peer group, right?
Yeah.
My perspective is only within my colleagues and who I work with in the present day. Like who's in the game today. Maybe in the past there has been people that have come through and maybe they're just gone. Like like they maybe had their success and their era has just ended because they're taken care of.
They sold out and they're good. They don't need to do it anymore.
So I'm still navigating. I'm still new. I do have an honest opinion of myself too. When I speak to other artists, I respect the idea of them having a style and them pursuing a very unique thing, because I don't think there's only one right answer. I think there's 35,000 infinite right answers, but there's also as much wrong answers. I think it's always a 50-50, yes or no. There's two answers, but there's so many versions of both. And so that's why I can't judge my peers in terms of the direction and practice they want to go through, but I do have business assumptions. So to this day, I have art business assumptions that need to be tested. And when the test breaks or fails, then I shift to a new style, because we also have to be flexible enough to not just like have this idea of like, well, this is how artists make it. And that be the only fact. But I basically, like, I have to also respect my peers, because if we're all growing together, their idea may one day be better than my idea. I just don't know. We just don't know it yet until the end of 10 years. So
Yeah.
I'll see you in 10 years. We'll see where we're all at. And we may all still be successful, even though we all had our own rhythms.
Yeah.
And I think most people believe that. But at the same time, nothing speaks louder than the work done.
Yeah.
Not even like intellect or philosophy, or because I feel like because we're in an age of information, the internet gives us access to unlimited knowledge but also unlimited things that are not true.
Yeah.
But I feel like we no longer have lack of knowledge, wisdom, information. If you wanted to be wise, you just go and read all the philosophers' books or anything, Principles of Life. If you wanted to be, financially smart or savvy, then you'd watch all the financial videos. And then you wanted to be, so anyone you want to become, anything you want to become, it's out there to become. But now it's more of like who has the will and the grit and determination to shape themselves to becoming who they want to be as their full version of themselves. It's no longer about what's in here. It's about what we do. And sometimes I'm not doing what I need to be doing. There are days where like, wow, he's doing good. And then there are days where I'm like, dude, I should be doing. I still have my days where I am not holding myself accountable for some days. But we're all human and we all have to be compassionate. Am I going to be focused on that day that I didn't produce as much as I wanted, or I didn't make as much as I wanted? I didn't touch the canvas for a whole week. I didn't make art for a whole week. But then I have to balance and says, but did I spend my time that week to still be maybe I focused on my studio that week.
Yeah.
So then now I'm a studio manager. This hat of a studio manager needed to be done. So that way this business is taken care of. So when I hop back into my art identity and creativity, that is not stopping me. This is not like pressing on me to being successful in this field too. So some people may see, well, you're not producing, you're not making. I think I only make like 2 or 3 paintings a year, like canvas work. And then everything else is large scale, big business, like mural stuff. But even those mural stuff, I don't think it's more than 10 a year. It should be 10 or less a year. That happens so far. But then what did you do with all the extra time? Is literally build for when I do those things are the best. These are the best deals that I possibly can have.
Got it.
Right. So it's not for me. And then obviously it's more about quality over quantity for me, and quality relationships over quantity relationships.
Got it.
So that's where I'm at. But again, other people have other technique. Quantity, it's okay if my relationships are not quality. And then eventually we all end up in the same, So that's why I'm like, I can't judge other people's rhythm, and I don't even have the time to anyways. But I feel like what's brought me a lot of peace, and when other people saying, oh, if you did this style, or if you created this art piece, or, we're all fear of judgment if someone's going to like our piece. The biggest comfort is like, well, I'm not for everyone. And those that see my value in their city or in their place, those are the ones that are going to receive my artwork and be able to accept it and enjoy it. And those that look at it and says, that's a disgrace to what artist means or what artist is, that's fine. Then it's not for you, bro.
Yeah.
Like for me, I feel like every time I finish a piece, at least it went to the person that valued it. So I rarely have pieces that are personal, but I actually do have one coming up that is like just for a show to support a friend's gallery. I'm going to be making I'm making a piece.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we have left, but
this is it, man.
Okay.
This is it. I think it's a great way to end it, man. I learned a lot today for sure. I definitely think you could do your own podcast. Why don't you tell people the best way to see your work, to get a hold of you, anything of that information?
Okay. So the best way to see my work would probably just be super simple, just Instagram @lovemonsters. And if you want to see my studio, just www.eastsidearthouse.studio. And then they also have an Instagram page too. So I think both are my work. One is just like a cool like co-working studio space, specifically niched for artists. $200 a month covers the space to be there. Everything that we give in terms of like coaching, learning, peer, all that is just freely given amongst each other. So we're being generous with each other. And then my work is just really on social media, but then also you'll find it in different magazines across the Riverside magazine. We get published there. Sometimes there's articles written. So sometimes you'll just might find my work in press. And I really enjoy those because I feel like when those writers really write about me, similar to this podcast, like every time I may say the same story, but there's always something I remember that I can add to these stories too as I grow. So.
Love it. Don't forget, show April 8th.
Yes.
April 8th, 5 to 8.
Yes.
5 to 8.
5 to 10.
5 to 10.
Yes.
Come by, check out some art, buy some art, support some people, get some food, have a great time. We'll probably be there. This will be dropping, hopefully. Adrian, make this drop next week so we can get it out before. We'll also make sure you send us something. We'll share it on our page so we can get more people out there. Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate you. You inspire so many people out there. Hope you inspire some artists today. Until next time, guys. Peace.